Very good. What did you find out about his family, his parents, siblings?
What I found out about his mom has some health issues, and he wants to he wants to believe what I was telling him. So he wants to try it, and if he feels better, he wants to introduce me to his mom. Um, he's single. He does have a girlfriend. They do not live together. I mean, he he told me a lot. They his siblings. I didn't go that direction. I should have. He was a little pressed for time. This whole thing took place in about 30 minutes. So I didn't get there, but we're meeting again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, a number of things that I keep discovering. First of all, the testimonial thing that is on at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time is so valuable. I learned something that everyone, and today was PJ Meyer talking about the cancer she had and also the cancer that her husband had. And just very, very informative. I just marvel at it. Really, really enjoy it. And again, thank you, Nina, for setting that up. That's just so special to do that. It's a good place to invite people because you're always going to hear a good, good, good testimonial. They've all been very, very good. In talking with on a three-way call the other day with Andrea, this guy, I think he has high cholesterol or something. There was something he was interested in lowering. As many people say, you know, I'm looking for this. Do you have anything in chocolate that would help? And I did something a little different. I don't know if you noticed, Andrea, or not, but I spent about 10 minutes saying, we're not dealing with the symptoms like most people are accustomed to. Taking the medication to get rid of the pain, taking the medication so we don't have this or that going on. And I said, we are talking about what's causing the problem. So I gave the example, if a person's knee aches and they take 20 aspirin a day and the pain goes away, it's not that they're aspirin deficient. So we've got to find out what is causing the problem to the knee. What is causing the problem for the high blood pressure? Maybe it's stress. So I felt he understood that makes so much sense. I never thought of that before. And so I had another three-way call with somebody else and I went over the same thing. And that seems to make sense to people instead of trying to tell them it's just food, it's made of good food, and so on and so forth. But they still are looking to take care of the symptom. They're not really looking at the root problem, the cause. And so once I went over it with this guy, he said, oh, yeah, I never thought of it that way. And I felt that he was much more receptive to what could be done with supplementation. So that's a big plus. The other thing is so many people are trying so hard to get people into the products, which is good. We want to get people into the products so they feel better and get results. But we don't do the things necessary to really try to build a relationship and let them open up about everybody and everything in their family that could be fixed. We just, you know, we're in a society where okay, here are the products, try to go talk to somebody else. If we would just take time and listen to people and talk to them, they would give us a whole market. And as they're talking, as we're asking questions, two things can be done. One, when I'm asking questions, they know I'm not selling. The other thing is that I'm building the relationship, of course. And the other thing is I'm finding out all these things because they just open up. And yet we want to expedite things, get product in their hand. We're off someplace else and looking for somebody else, and they would probably give us 5 people. So, Michelle, I'm going to talk to you later about skincare you did. But Eve, you talked to this lady that just wanted a shampoo. Would you relate what happened? Because I think originally you were thinking of dropping the shampoo off and that's it. But what took place? Would you relate that? I think this is the classic example of what it means to take time with people.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I started to just ask her basic questions about how things are going in her life, she very quickly talked all about her allergies and all of the fumes that she's getting from these dryers that are all underneath her. So she talked for a long time about that. So I just listened. Then I asked her if maybe she's doing any immune boosting. Then she happened to mention she's going to a naturopath. And that was interesting to me because she told me that she thought the Shaklee products were above her price point. So here in downtown Toronto, she'd be paying $160, $180, maybe $200 an hour to see a naturopath. So I know she's able to do that. So I just asked her what she was taking. She told me all about it. And then I just told her that I couldn't speak to the things that that she was taking, but that maybe she would like to try boosting her immune system with just some protein powder and maybe start with Vital E. And she said that she would think about it. So just the more I listened to her, the more the conversation went in that direction that she thought she would eventually like transition into Shaklee. And then she just said, like what Roland is saying about other people, she right away offered she'd give my catalog to another girl named Friend. She told me a friend of hers named Anne. She didn't tell me what was wrong with her, but she just thought that she would be interested. So it did snowball into a way longer conversation than what I was planning. So I know I'll hear from her again.
Thank you, Eve. Would you go over also about, you had a bag that the product was in, and we had talked about how you would get the product to her and the other information that you had in the bag.
Yes, okay. I have tiny little samples of the Basic H. I had that, an old newsletter, and the third thing was just the recent thing that Shaklee gives in the recent order I just got. So I had those three things. I was just going to throw it all in the bag and give it to her. And Roland said, no, ask permission, ask and show her if she would like it. So each thing, I couldn't believe it. I started with the Basic H. She actually took it, this little thing. She looked at it. She said, wow, this is so great. She said, thank you. And then I said, well, and I handed it to her. Well, would you like this newsletter? She said, oh, I would love that. Thank you. And then I said, oh, and here's this flyer that Shaklee just gave in the recent order. Would you like that too? And she said, oh, this is really nice. And she held each one and looked at it and thanked me. So that was really cool to learn that, to be able to do that, because then I knew it made impression on her. She was really looking at it and thanking me and being grateful. So that was awesome.
You did a great job, Eve. See, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to ask questions. We're trying to get people to talk, because when they talk, we can come up with things that we can pat them on the back for. If we just immediately try to tell them everything, they're not going to ask questions, and we will not have an opportunity to pat them on the back. In today's society, with nobody listening to anybody, and everybody is in a hurry to do whatever, people are screaming for somebody to listen to them. And what we're getting from Shaklee is to expedite things just do the social media, and I'm not saying it cannot be an advantage to some extent, but quickly tell them how they can order the products. If they're in the geographical area, get the products and deliver them yourself.
Mhm.
You got to talk to people.
Mhm.
Dr. Shackley said, see the people. Leon Huseman, many years ago, I said, Leon, how do you find people? He said, I just have a cup of coffee with them. And people desire that contact more than ever before. And when you talk to them, really pat them on the back for things that they say that are positive. Even if they say, I'm taking 1-a-day vitamins, good for you. But don't come back with what I call a nurse's question. So how's it going for you? Huh? That's not the right question. I call them nursing questions because picture them going into a patient's room and saying, did you take your medication today? Did you eat all your breakfast? What time do you want to take a shower? Those are hard-hitting questions. People want softer, nice, gentle, empathetic questions. So I've got to get questions from people. If I'm not getting questions from people, I'm talking too much. I've given too much information most of the time. And like I told Eve, I said, when you go in there, you have the product. I said, get away from Shackley and talk about something else. I said, try to set up a conversation. And Eve said, well, I'll call you back as soon as I get through with this. And she was thinking it would go rather quickly. And over a half hour later, she finally calls me. And I knew that the lady started talking. It's probably more than a half hour, probably 45 minutes. And they open up the door. So I must get questions from people. I must ask them questions. And I must compliment them. Can you understand the simplicity of that? Maxie, what are you thinking when I say that?
That it's been a learning process. I know that I definitely have the tendency to ask those kinds of nursing questions. I know we've talked about that before. But I think people open up a lot more when you compliment people and when you show interest, show genuine interest, and don't come right out with Shackley, Shackley, Shackley. So, and doing the permission-based.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Sharon, you did kind of an interview with somebody that had an interest in making an income. And what did you discover from that interview that you did with her and the questions you asked? You're muted. You muted yourself again. Okay, there you go.
That they were nurse questions. She answered them, but I have to ask a lot more questions.
Can you give, not trying to put you on the spot, but can you give a couple of the nursing questions you gave? I thought they were pretty funny.
Oh, I can't even remember. Because now I can laugh at it, which is good, but I can learn from it because I recorded myself. So, yeah. And I asked her permission. So it was good that I was able to record myself.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that. So please understand, I must ask questions, more questions, congratulate people, and really pat them on the back. Somebody said, I'm feeling better. Oh, good. That's not a pat on the back. That's just gentle touch on the back. So when somebody says they're feeling good, it's just like if I said, okay, you're going to talk to somebody for 10 minutes, and for everything they say that is positive, you get $1,000. And chances are, if somebody says, I'm feeling better, you probably wouldn't say, oh, okay, good. That's good. Because you know very well, if you give an incredible pat on the back, they're going to tell you more things. So when somebody says, I'm feeling better, or the basic H really works, things that we've heard so many times, and it may seem a little strange, But to really go overboard and say, that's fantastic, you're feeling better. It's only been 3 days. I mean, then you can start asking more detailed questions, such as, now, do you take it just in the morning or afternoon? No, I just take it once a day. You mean once a day you're getting those fantastic results? Yeah, I tell you. It's really good. I mean, I sleep better. Really? You're sleeping better. You've only been taking it for a couple of days and you're sleeping better. I mean, do you sleep longer or better? Well, no, in fact, I don't have to sleep as long. I'm feeling, no, really? That is incredible. Yeah, I told my sister about it too. No, really? What did she say? Well, she's interested. Do you have any literature on whatever? And the answer is no. Sorry, I don't. Because it also depends on diet. But do you think your sister would be interested? What is a tendency for people to say? Well, I can talk to your sister. I can tell her all about this. No. Do you think your sister would be interested? Yeah, I think she would. Fantastic. Yeah, I can give her a call. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Can I ask you something? How do you feel about if you talk to your sister and then we set up a 3-way call? How do you feel about that? So everything is their 100% decision in doing it. We make this business way too tough because we want to expedite things. We want to educate people to death. We want to tell them everything. We must stop it. If a person is really interested in growing this business quickly, the fastest door opener is skincare. And we are not utilizing that. Joyce Hoffman said many years ago, for every $100 worth of skincare, there'll be $600 of other products that will be sold. And we've gotten away from that. People try the supplements and let me try them, see what happens, just like, who was it saying, I got this, or Steve, you got the guy started, and let me think about it and let me see what happens to me, then maybe we'll talk to my mother. Skincare, you do it on half their face and they say, whoa. I mean, they can tell right away. Now, here's the thing. We should have the writing skills so that when they have the mask on, we're going to ask about their family. Their family is in the area. You must find a market, even with this person who has not said anything about Shackley business. People are not finding the market. People are so intent on selling products and raising their PV. People are focused more on PV than ever before, and they're focused on minimal PV. And that's why everything is about, wow, if this person buys, then it raises my PV. So in asking the questions, finding out about them, you know what little seeds to plant. And when they have the mask on, you show the writing skills. You only take 2 minutes. But it opens up the door because they got kids with ADD. They got all these other things going on. They've got relatives that are all sick. It opens the door. Get creative. They really love the skincare. And you're patting them on the back when they try it. They like it, asking questions. You're not being phony. You're just being nice. And they start thinking of other people who would really like the skincare. Do you think they'd like the skincare? Yes, I do. Fantastic. Yeah, I sure wish I could find a way for them to try it. Wow, that's a great idea. Can I ask you something? How would you feel about having a couple of these people you mentioned over for a skincare that I would do, and I'd give you some free product for doing it? How do we get from that person to other people to other people? If you understand the sales plan, we must build in depth. Everything we have from Shackley, and I'm being very vocal about this because I'm not putting the company down, but we've got to think as leaders, everything we're getting from the company is about how you can bring people in. And it ends right there. And bring more people in. And it ends right there. We must be talking about building organizations. And you build an organization by finding out about the people they know.
Roland, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning, I have a meeting with a nutritionist he doesn't recommend at this point any supplements. We've had conversations about 4 times now. He's the husband of one of my people from our networking group. And so he tells people that he's more into all the diet. What I've learned from him is that he's really into food and that you need supplements. He's really into the fermentation thing, so we're going to have to figure out how to get past that tomorrow. Because soy is good, but it should be fermented. So I'm thinking he knows that supplements are a necessity. So what I've got in my head tomorrow is to ask him, some questions about why he feels that there's a need for supplements. And but I think in my head, because he has a business and he does consults all the time. And his wife is in all different kinds of health insurances. So she's a huge referral base for him. So what I'm thinking is he knows you need supplements. So I'm thinking my part is to share the Shackley difference with him and tell some stories along the way.
And what would you say with the Shackley difference?
I have some pictures to show the difference, but that we go beyond organic, I think is huge because people think if it's organic, it's good. And I know that I think that the details have to be balanced with stories, because somebody who is very much he's got a degree in this. So I think that he's going to want some details. You're sitting there looking at me with that blank look. It's like,
before asking the question, I would definitely ask him, are you looking for top quality or you're looking for just supplementation?
Right.
Because then you can go into, can I explain why this is top quality?
Okay. Would it be out of line for me to ask him? I mean, before we even get to that, I guess I'm thinking the questions would be, what is it that you're looking to learn from me today?
Oh, that's another great question.
And then I don't think it's out of line also to ask or to say, I understand that you do recommend people take supplements. Is that correct?
I would not say I do understand.
Okay. How would you ask that question then?
The question was, do you recommend other people to take supplements?
Okay.
And he says yes, and you say, fantastic. That is really good.
Okay.
And if he says no, you say?
I know he does.
No,
but if he says no, go
what
ahead.
would you say then, Roland?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. And I know that you do everything like just questions. When I'm doing it over the phone, I can do that. Like Saturday, I did a gal from Montana. She's pregnant. She's constipated. And the doctor told her she's on some pill because she has a hormone that's out of balance, is my understanding, but she's on a pill and she can only drink 30 ounces of water a day. My daughter told me this, and I said, that's death. How can anybody only drink 30 ounces of water a day? Well, she's taking this pill so she doesn't urinate. And I said, well, what about all the toxins then? And so when I got on the call with her and she started sharing me these things, because I acted like I didn't know any of this stuff, and she started sharing these stories, and I'm like, so is the purpose of urine kind of to get rid of toxins out of our body? And she goes, I've never thought about it that way. I said, so where are all those toxins going? I never thought about it that way. And in the end, she was super excited. And of course, she started with products, but I don't dare when somebody's pregnant and working with a doctor to say, you know, to me that medicine is death to her. Being pregnant and what's going to happen to that kid. So anyway, she started on products and she's going to see a specialist pregnancy doctor, and hopefully that doctor is going to take her off that medication for the rest of her pregnancy. So, but when it comes to getting people started on products, I'm good at that. But now this is a different situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
it is a fine line, but we want to be as strong as we can, and that's why I always tell people, would you like me to tell you what I would do?
mm-hmm.
And this is what I would do.
Okay.
And that gets us away from the illegal stuff.
Yeah.
And I repeat it a couple of times. And I say, you can think about it, but I'm just telling you what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah. When she after she said, I want to talk to you again after I talk to she's going to start on, of course, she changed multis because that's why she was getting constipated, and she went on the Optiflor, and she went on the, where else did she go on? I don't even remember anymore. And this is terrible, but I didn't dare to have her start on the protein with the stuff that she's doing.
Okay.
But you understand where I'm coming from with that?
Mm-hmm.
No, you probably don't.
Well, yeah, I do.
She can't drink anything, so I'm afraid.
Oh, yeah, she's going to get constipated.
Well, but beyond that, I don't know. That part scared me. The doctors got her on vitamins, so trading that, knowing her guts are upset and messed up, that didn't bother me a bit. But I said, after you're not pregnant, we talked about that and getting on the protein, the importance of the protein, because that's what creates cellular health. And you cannot build health without having healthy cells. So we did do that. Let's go back to my other guy, though, if I may, please, for tomorrow.
Okay.
So you said, what are you going to use to show them the Shackley difference? I have 3 pages that I use for the Shackley difference. Are there details on there? Yes. And for this guy who's already in business, I think part of my job is to educate him. So I know this is totally different than what we've been talking here. I always have the writing skills. That's part of everything that I do. And stories are part of everything that I do. And so when I show the basic products, I tell supplements. I tell stories. But it's getting to where I can actually start sharing stuff with them.
Okay.
What kind of questions would you ask there?
Well, I don't show much, but everybody has to decide how much they want to show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, like Sharon, you recorded yourself. I cannot emphasize enough to get permission to record when you talk to somebody, especially if it's on the phone, and hear yourself, because there's just people are so sensitive today to little things.
Yeah.
I think I said to Maxie one time, I said, don't start by saying, hey, that's not a good way to start. And sometimes various words that we use, like I talked to somebody the other day and I said, you want to get this message across? You do not use, I think. This probably would be good. But I'd recommend you lose it right there.
Wow.
And this is why we must learn how to be strong, but yet not cross the line in being able to say, would you like me to tell you what I would do? And you can think about it, and whatever you want to do is fine, because that way they understand. I'm not trying to push into anything, but we must go back to the tone of our voice, because as I said, I think also to Maxie, when you talk, your voice always goes up at the end. It may seem like a simple thing, But try going across the border into another country when they ask you a question and your voice goes up at the end, and you are going to have your car pulled over and your luggage is going to be checked.
Today I was talking to my daughter and I asked her something, I don't remember what it was at all, and she gave me this answer as her voice went up, and I said, really? She said, Mom, you always catch me on that. She was trying to defend something. I don't remember even what it was, but we laughed then, and it's like, there's so much truth to it. She was trying to get herself out of some fundraising stuff, and she didn't know how to do it, and so here her voice goes.
And also, the pauses we put in, such as I can say to somebody, well, I can tell you what I would do. Or I can say, I can tell you what I would do, but it's up to you. Whatever you want to do is fine. But I can tell you what I would do in that situation. I can tell you what I would do if I had a child with ADD. You can think about it, mull it over, but I know exactly what I would do. So the tone of our voice, the pauses we put in, are so important. If you listen to any of Dr. Shackley's talks, when he started a sentence, it was such clarity. He never said, well, because he was on there's one of him on an interview show, a TV show or something, and they were asking him questions. And there was no, well, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I thought. It was, why is your product so good? They're in balance and harmony with nature. I mean, how you start the sentence. It's more important today than ever before because everybody is so critical. Turn the TV on. And somebody said this and this, and well, I didn't really mean it quite like that. I mean, it drives me crazy how critical people are of what somebody said. It's just crazy. So if people are that sensitive, they're also very sensitive to somebody caring about them. They're also very sensitive and feel good about somebody patting them on the back and listening. But I must be strong. And I want to talk about that in a couple minutes. But Michelle, you did a skincare, and we talked about finding out about people. Did you do that with this person? You gave a great skincare, I understand. Patted her on the back, I'm imagining, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was great that I spoke to you beforehand because you gave me a lot of things to prepare for, which I did. And I did compliment her, which was easy because she was a very sweet, beautiful girl. She enjoyed the skincare, and while her face mask was on, I showed her the writing skills. But it was good that I was prepared in my head of what my goal was, and it was to talk about other products in Shackley. And then, so she was interested in hearing more about the cleaning products, and she wanted to take them to show her mother. She's 26 years old, and she's in school still to be a teacher. And then she started talking to me about her health, and she's a vegetarian most of the time. Sometimes she eats chicken. So I was asking her how much protein she gets, and she goes, oh, I get sick when I have a protein drink. And I'm like, really? I'm like, what have you tried? She says, well, I did try. My boyfriend had the Shackley protein, and that even made me sick. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to find out about what you can do, because it's so important to have the protein to build your cells to be healthy. And I don't believe that with your diet, I don't think you're getting enough. And she's like, oh my gosh, that would be so great if you could find out what I could do. So I texted Roland, and he said, just start small. So I told her, try a couple teaspoons for a few days and see if you still get sick. And so she was so happy. and was very grateful because she says, I love learning more about health. So it wasn't all about skincare, even though she wants to share it with her girlfriends, and she wants to try it for 30 days, take her before and after picture. And I told her skin was beautiful. And I said, but I'm amazed at these young girls who do their before and afters that they even look better. And she's like, really? and I'm telling her the truth because I've seen a few that they do. So it went well.
Now, she said she would like to have her girlfriends try it.
Yes, her sister, and then I was asking her about her cousin who posts a lot on Instagram. She makes actually quite a bit of money trying out different products all the time, and people follow her. And she's like, oh, I'm going to tell my cousin about this.
And what did you say?
I'm like, that is wonderful. I would love, if she has any questions, I would love to talk to her and share it with her.
What else could you have said, Michelle?
Well, my goal is to get another skincare.
And what else could you have said?
I don't know. Really? You want to do that? I don't know. That would be wonderful.
Well, that would have been good. That would have been good.
Well, I did say that would be great. I'm like, that would be really, really great if you could get together some people, some girls. And she said, yeah, our generation, like her age, they're really into skincare.
So you said to her what? Exactly how did you say it? When she said, I'd like to get my cousin and a few other people.
Oh my God, that would be great. And I said, I would love to do that for you.
Okay. Remember, you're going to get $50,000 if you get to meet her friends.
Okay.
Okay. So she says, I'm thinking of my sisters, my cousin, and so on. I would say, incredible. That's great. You're thinking of them. Good for you. There are about 3 compliments right there. Can I ask you something? If they like the product, how would you feel about making an income if they start using it? That question would not offend her.
No, I did bring up the opportunity.
What did you say?
I was very clear with her that Shackley has an incredible opportunity for a business for her career that she could do along with teaching. And so she was interested in that. And I said the skincare is a start of getting people interested in the products. And she asked about all the other products. So.
Okay, that's good. What I'm getting at is if people have said something that moves them in the direction of possibly talking to other people, then all I'm doing is basically repeating that, saying it's fantastic that you're thinking of that, and then they're not going to be offended if I say, how do you feel about making an income if they start using the product? In other words, one tiny little step at a time in the right direction. I don't know if this makes sense or not, but
I mean, I learn each time that how I could do better, and that's it's too bad I don't do it totally right the first time.
No, that's all right. It was a great attempt, but I'm just trying to open up the possibilities of going a little bit further with what they've already said. You know, it's like even with Eve, you know, she's talking about some other people. I guess she did talk about some other people. I don't know. But when they start talking about other people, that is a definite lead-in somehow. And we got to figure out maybe just to talk to those people. But if they seem to be really, I really want them to know about it, I don't think there's going to be any harm done asking the question. not saying, you know what, if those people start using Shackley, you could make an income from that. And then we might as well go further and say, and you know, if you got enough people using Shackley, you could become a director in Shackley. And if you got another person to become a director in Shackley, you could get money extra for a Shackley car. Now, there are two different incomes that you get for a Shackley car. One is depending on whether it's a hybrid or it's a standard car. And as you move up in rank and get more people using the product, then, of course, you can get more money for that car. And, of course, after 3 years, you can get another car because one little step in the right direction. We don't want to say too much, but if they've already said things that are positive, we must get to their friends. And to do that, I feel it's very, very important. If you want to build an organization, we're going to be talking more about building organizations. I feel many of you have doing a great job in learning the skills of communication. You're getting better at that. Please record yourself. But now is the time to really start looking at building businesses. And that means, number one, being coachable. Even like Eve discovering, instead of putting everything in the bag and giving them the bag, would you like this? Would you like this? Would you like this? It's just like at an in-home presentation. I don't hand out catalogs and say, here are some catalogs. I ask, does anyone want a catalog? Somebody says, yeah, I want one. And they all say, I want one. I mean, we've got to understand how people are thinking. But that being said, we must be coachable. To build a large organization, you must learn how to coach. There's a skill, there's two different skills there. Being coachable, which means we learn better how to deal with people and so on and so forth. But to build an organization today, one must learn how to coach. I talked to somebody the other day who said, I just want to help the world. I want to do it. I just want to do this thing. I really want to build. I want to go to key coordinator. I can't picture master, but I can picture key coordinator. I really want to do it, and I want to get ideas from you as to what I can do to move ahead in Shackley. And I just can see helping people all over the place to better health and earning an income. I can just see all this. And she said, will you help me? I said, where are you going to be in Shackley in a year? Well, what I'd like, lost it right there. I said, once again, here are all the reasons why you can, but I cannot help you because you haven't made a decision. And she says, oh my. She said, that hurts. But it's the truth. I said, you're asking me for all these blossoming things. You're asking me for things that I can't relate to. I want to help people too. But when you're helping people, you're talking about 5 people? You're talking about 4? You're talking about 10? I don't know. It's so loosey-goosey. I said, if you went into a bank and you wanted a loan and the officer said, okay, what do you want? Well, I want at least $50,000. And he says, well, can you tell me a little bit about your business? Yes, I just want to help people. I want to help people to better health, and I want to help them to help their friends. And I can just see people all over the world being helped by people that I talk to and by people they talk to, and we just make the world a better place. And that's all good. But I said, do you think you'll get the loan? I said, no. And therefore, I cannot help you. And the reason I'm going over this is because we can spend a lot of time with people who make it sound really good, but they haven't made a decision to jump off the diving board. And as I explained, the longer you're on the diving board and the water's a little cool, the colder the water is going to get. It's harder to jump off. And this is where a lot of people are in Shackley today because they think too much. They've been on the diving board too long. It's like playing golf. The first 9 holes, Yeah, I do pretty good because I don't play that often. But then I start thinking too much. And the last 9, all over the place. And I know it's all in the thinking. And so consequently, my goal is to really help people to really, really, really move ahead if they want to build an organization. So I've got to find out, number one, do they want to really build an organization? Are they willing to make a decision? Are they willing to be coached? And or do they just want to be good managers of a good, strong personal group? Some people do. In other words, I've got to find out what people really want to have before I say, okay, let's go ahead and let's work at this thing. So then we can get into marketing. And I got the YouTube that Nina and Sharon made, which I feel is phenomenal. The Bennett's, I can send it on to you. And Adrian and Maxie. And I've already had a number of people comment already this morning saying fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So I asked the office assistant, Jean, to send it out to every customer. The volume I'm picturing is going to go up, and people are going to start coming out of the woodwork and saying, I think I want to do this thing. And when people say that, I must be prepared on how to coach them with that comment. Because I hear so many people, I say, okay, you got somebody who says they want to do it. What do you say? Well, talk to my upline. I've heard that one. The other one is, oh yeah, let's get started. I want to know how much money you want to make. How much time do you have? I never talk about time. I do have a way of talking about how much income they want, but we must learn. That's where the coaching starts, right at the beginning. So I feel everybody on this Zoom must make a decision. It's something that we keep making and remaking. Just because we made a decision 10 years ago doesn't mean it's holding true today. It's something that we must constantly make and support. Make and support. And then it's coaching. And we've got to decide, am I looking to just have a good volume group? There's nothing wrong with that. Like I explained to somebody the other day, I said, be honest with yourself. Be honest about it. Don't feel you have to say, I want to build a big organization. Be honest with yourself. Then that way, who's ever coaching or helping you can better understand what you really, really, really want in the decision you've made. Because, man, I don't know about you, but I do a lot of three-way calls and everybody is sick. I was talking to somebody the other day, I don't know if there's anybody on here, but they're saying about somebody who has his child 7 years of age, he's got Crohn's disease. You never heard 20 years ago of a youngster with Crohn's disease. I'm telling you folks, we've got an incredible dilemma, cost-wise, stress and everything else with the sickness that this country is in. We're a mess, and in Canada too. You're not exempt from this. And people are looking for an income, but they want to go with somebody that's a winner. And if I start my conversation by saying, well, or my voice goes up at the end, they immediately subconsciously feel I'm not on a winning track. And you know what? When you compliment people, it tells them you have confidence. People who lack confidence do not compliment. And they cannot receive a compliment very well. They get a compliment, they can't say, well, thank you. They say, well, thanks. So this is the focus that I'm on. If you want to be on that focus, very, very good. But then we can do a good job of marketing because I am prepared because of this YouTube that is out there now, that there are going to be people saying, hey, I think I want to do Shackley. And when I get somebody that's a customer saying that was an incredible, incredible story that gal did. I'm going to also look to see what their ordering pattern has been. And I feel very, very comfortable, I believe, most of the time at that point, saying, can I ask you something? You know, what I'd say is I want to compliment you on being such a good, loyal Shackley customer all these years. That is fantastic. That's really, really good. Have you ever talked to other people about Shackley? And the response that I've gotten in the limited amount of questions like that I've asked is, yes, I've talked to people, but they don't listen. What does that tell me? They've been trying to sell. But I'm going to pursue it and say, well, if they did listen, how would you feel if you made an income if they started using Shackley? That's the question, and I know that's the way it's going to go. So I'm looking for great things to happen because of that. And if it's well received, which I know it will be, then maybe once a month we'll have a great testimonial that we'll send out to people. We're going to get everybody's volume up. Just getting that out. The testimonials are invaluable. Questions, comments? What are you thinking?
So I have a few comments. Well, first off, I'm going to have an issue with that well. I love saying well. That's one of my favorite words. So now it's banned from my vocabulary. However, I did want to mention that complimenting thing, it actually works. I met with someone who's a personal trainer. We did not connect, like there was no good vibes like really going on between the two of us, but she's in the health industry, I'm in the health industry. So we figured it would probably be helpful to connect. So we connected over lunch. And I did lots of complimenting, lots of asking questions. And by the end, she was very open to also taking a look at Shackley. So that helped tremendously. So we're meeting on this Friday to look at the products, and because she was looking at something that she can also recommend to her clients as a protein and so on and so forth. I also noticed how asking the wrong question puts the focus on something completely wrong. Like I would often ask in the beginning, so how did you like the taste of that? It's not about the taste. That's not what it's about. So I realized very quickly you have to also ask the right questions. So I really, really appreciate all of your insight that you constantly share with me, and the patience you have with me with all of my faulty questions and words that I like to use, and my speed and talking and all of that.
Well, thank you, Maxie, but that's very good. I appreciate that. But make certain that things that we have done that have not worked very well, these are stepping stones to getting better. They're not failures. These are stepping stones. I mean, I could spend several hours telling you about all the things that were stepping stones for me and all the things that I did. I learned from it. So we must learn from those things and don't say, ooh, that was a dumb move. No. That's a stepping stone.
Oh, no, I'm incredibly grateful that you've mentioned it, because now I'm more self-aware, and who knows where I would end up if I wasn't aware of it.
Mm-hmm. That's very good. You are aware of it. Gary, thank you. Gary? You had something you want to say, Gary? You raised your hand.
Yes, you were breaking up there a second. I got the video this morning. Thank you, both Nina and Sharon. Beautiful. The question is, every time I get email in the subject line, there's a few words that are supposed to be there to get you to look at the email itself. Some of them end up in the spam folder. I want to put something on the subject line that will invite people to read it and not just blow it off as another commercial. Have you thought about that?
I think that's a great idea.
Have you thought about that?
No, I haven't.
Anybody have an idea?
Maybe something.
You familiar with?
There's a place online that's called Ask the Public.
Okay.
And if you go and put a topic in there, It will give you all different kinds of questions, and questions create curiosity. So if you can come up with a question that would go along with, let me just run in there and see what pops up on.
Well, here's we got a limited amount of time. So here's what popped up this morning in my mind. You're familiar with Shakespeare's "To Be or Not to Be"? That is the question.
Okay.
We change it to Shackley or not to Shackley. We might have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Can I respond again?
Sure.
Because I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on online stuff. When you put Shackley in there, you're selling. When you use we might have the answer, that's selling. But what did you say before? You said something before that sounded.
To Shackley or not to Shackley?
No, before you came
Oh,
on.
that was, I just gave you the Shakespeare quote from 600 years ago.
Before that, when we first started talking about it.
I don't recall.
Because that you were totally right that line can either throw stuff, people to ignore it.
Yep.
Roland, you put Sharon's testimonial in yours. Isn't that what you put as a heading?
I think so.
What are some other things that I just want to look up here?
Nina,
Yeah,
lupus testimonial.
but then I think that your story, Sharon, goes far beyond lupus.
But then it's catching the eye of a disorder.
Okay.
So it gives them the opportunity to open it,
Yeah.
right?
Because I think your story goes so far beyond lupus because.
But if they just open it, they'll see that it's more than just a testimonial.
That it's building health.
Exactly. Or you can even put.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah. Hi, Linda.
I agree with what you're saying, Sharon. Lupus is the bait.
Yeah.
And then once you have them on the hook, then
Yep.
you can take that story where you want to take it. My story on YouTube is gastric bypass surgery,
Right.
or bariatric surgery. People respond to that right away. So I agree with what you're saying. A lupus testimony. I think that's very good bait.
You might take it just to autoimmune disease and a question mark.
That would work.
That's a very good one.
I think that that's better than saying the name of the disease because
Yes,
True,
yes,
true.
I like that.
I like that too.
I
Autoimmune.
guess that's my point. Is it
Good job, Steve.
it makes you
Because
think
everybody's
about
got
it.
autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
And they all get treated the same way. I mean, the same, you know, I don't care what your autoimmune disease is, really, we would go about, and I don't want to use the word prescribing, but I'm going to, we would suggest almost the same exact series of nutrition for any one of them.
Very good, very good, very good.
So how would you say that again, Steve?
I would just put autoimmune disease and a question mark, and maybe 3 question marks.
Yes, yes, yes. I like it. See what we can do with teamwork?
Yeah, because that creates curiosity,
Yes. Yep.
and that's the whole purpose of marketing is creating curiosity.
That's right. So people ask questions.
So you can turn around and ask another question.
That's right. And pat them on the back for their question.
I don't know, Maxie, if it was you that was saying this before. I have to share with you, when I started working with Roland, I think back to this and I would talk to somebody and I would just puke all over him. And he would be very calm and he'd say, so what if you would ask this? So then the next time I'd have a conversation, I'd get through 2 questions. and then I'd puke on them. And then I got to where I could do 3 questions, and I felt really good because I got to 3, and then I would just go all over. And then I got, because his rule always was 6 questions, and then, can I ask you a question? So the first time I got that far, I was so elated. So it's just part of the process, and you can go back and tell your downline that down the road.
That's right. That's right.
The other part of the process is it's getting comfortable with it. It's when I was talking to this guy today, and I asked him, I said, so what supplements are you using? And he started telling me, and I've been using this joint health stuff. I get it at GNC. Now, I got to tell you, 5 years ago, what I would have said would have probably sent the guy into the next county. But, I learned to smile and say, good for you. No matter how, I didn't even choke on the words. And at the end, we were talking, he looked at me and he says, you're really confident that this is going to help me, aren't you? I said,
wow.
Absolutely.
I
didn't say absolutely. I said, yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Like I said, you give compliments, that means you're confident. People's minds. Well, this has been great.
Yes.
Please, when we get together again next week, I would like to explore with all of you what you're doing, what you're thinking about coaching, what you're thinking about this idea of building an organization. I'm talking about, hey, if you're getting started, look at 7 or 10 directors in a year. Because I'm not just throwing that number out because it sounds good, but there's something about getting momentum with a few people moving ahead. They motivate everybody else. And that's, actually 7 or 10 for people who really are getting into momentum is actually low. I think of Marion Weimer, and a number of people. It was 20. So definitely, it's got to be the focus on how we get 7 at least. 7 directors if we want to build, because otherwise it takes so much time and pain and everything else because we don't get the group affecting the group. So we must start picturing in our minds at least 5 people who we're getting together with them on a Zoom or whatever, and we're discussing building organizations. We got to start getting that picture. And it's amazing how your conversations will change when you start talking to people because your focus is totally different. And, there are a few men on this call, and you say, well, skincares. Well, yes, I've done skincares, but most of the people we have in our businesses are women. And get them going with skincare. Set up an incentive for skincares. And also, they have a cleaning caddy with them. So they do a skincare. Would you like to take this home? I mean, get creative as to how you're going to get to more people, how you're going to get people into 2 lines of products in 45 days. Really start thinking building a business is a whole different focus than how can I get this person into some products. There's a whole different focus, and that's the direction that we must go, and that's the direction that will help us to create incredible amounts of business. And the reason we must be very good at coaching is because your people are going to be looking at the internet and seeing all kinds of things from Shackley about how you get people in and maybe make $300 or something. That has been the focus for so many years. And, if they come out with something that I think is not right, I will tell everybody, don't touch it. In the past, I used to say, you better look at it because I'm good at figuring out whether something's going to work. And nothing has ever worked. But now I'm going to say, do not touch it, just as I did about the program of getting 3 people in that buy a kit and you make $300.
The thing is, Roland, is you have to get focused on building your business and don't get swayed with everything that comes along.
That's right.
Years ago, I'll never forget this. We were growing like nuts, and we went to Michigan. They would have an annual, Dinkles would have that annual conference in Michigan.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they
yeah.
would
Shower
have
of stars.
Shower Stars, and they would have all these people that were speaking about all the awesome things that are going on in their business, and they would have these people all out there in booths selling stuff. And I'll never forget this, that everybody's coming, oh, we got to get this, oh, we got to get this, we got to get this, we got to get that. And I said, you guys stop and think about this. What you're doing is working. Why would you change it? And the bottom line of what you just said there is you got to get your business rocking, and then you're not going to be looking at everything else. I don't even know. Somebody said something to me about an incentive, and I said, I know about the $1,000 incentive, but I'm not paying any attention to any of the other ones. I mean, of course, the trips, but there's every month there's something different that they're throwing out there.
I know. I can't keep track of it either.
So you lose the focus of growing a business is
Yep.
what it comes down to.
That's right. And that's a great point. And this is something I'd like to talk more about on future Zooms. How do you stay focused? You know, of course, we have that decision, but how do you stay focused on that? What can we do? Because you get out of focus, and then we're going in 10 different directions again. So that's a great point.
That's a great topic to do next time.
Yep.
Or whenever. Okay. I got to
Okay.
run. I have something else I'm supposed to be on.
Okay. Thank all of you for being on. I really appreciate your input, your comments, but we're going to move onward and upward because of all of you. Thank you.